Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy, Green Pastures Farm. Today we're doing a cattle drive, bringing about a little over a mile down a gravel road here. And you can see we got wires up on each side of the road. They're not hot, but the cattle think they are. And we've already had about 80 go by us, but I wanted to, there's a neighbor dog here that sometimes barks at these cattle. That's what I'm doing here. I'm guarding this. Guarding this crossing right here. That dog comes out and just really gets with it. And so I just sat here, and if he comes out here, I'm gonna holler at him. He'll leave the cows alone, but he'll actually come out to the edge of the road and just bark and snarl. And he's intimidating enough that he'll stop our flow of animals. And the last time we actually had him turn around and go back. So you learn. I'm not going to let that happen today. I can see the dog. No, yeah, I think he just went behind this house over here. He's a tricky devil. He's actually a kind of a cool dog. One of them's a Catahoula, which is, I love the looks of Catahoulas. They're cattle dogs. This guy had one come to his house and he just adopted it. Cool looking dog though. And man, he likes to bark at these cows. Probably because he's a cow dog. The other one's just a black mutt. And he's the one that really gets with it. He barks and barks and barks. But, these cows, they're pretty happy this morning. The sun came out. It was cold out here this morning. Still is. My nose is kind of cold. I'm driving this four-wheeler down the road. I'm on the four-wheeler. You can see that truck up there. They're turning in our driveway up at the top of that hill. My wife is up there blocking. She's got a white ribbon across the road. And then the boys are behind me. Well, there's a big old fat steer. The boys are behind me. They're bringing the herd behind. They've got everything's in front of them. So there's nothing can turn around and come back. And folks, it actually takes about as much time to put up the wire. We were probably on this about 30 minutes this morning. 2 crews, me and another fella, and then the boys are running the other set of posts and reels. It doesn't take too long. The cows, you can tell they're anxious to go because they're trotting. A lot of times you'll see them, they just walk the whole time. But these cows are on some pretty questionable, I mean, it just wasn't the best stockpile. They're going into pretty good stuff this morning on the first paddock. It's one we actually skipped, so it hasn't been grazed all winter. It's about 10, 12 inches tall. Pretty darn good stuff. We're going to see how they like that. I'm guessing they'll like it quite well. But you can see there, this cow, she's coming right toward the foil. I thought, whoop, she's going to knock me off of here. But it's pretty sweet to do a cattle drive when the sun is at their back or to the side. You don't want to walk cattle into the sun if you can help it. Now, I know sometimes you don't have any choice, but sometimes that sun kind of blinds them and they kind of get disarrayed, and it just works a lot better if they don't have the sun poking right straight in their face. But we couldn't have picked a better morning for our cattle drive. We got down to 22 degrees last night, so our ground is froze. It is soup out here, though. It's going to get wet this afternoon when it starts thawing. But, you deal with what you got to deal with. And I'm just glad that we've got the 1,000-pound cows to deal with it. I wouldn't want to do the big ones out here. I've done been there. I don't want to go back. Pretty hard on your ground. But you'll have the babies. There'll be a whole bunch of the babies, I say. The calves, the ones, a couple of months, 2 or 3 months old, they're going to be at the very back of the cattle drive a lot of times. And the older cows, they just take off, But the young ones, they're a little bit slower along, and they don't come quite as quickly. Pretty nice to get all your cows to the gate before you open the gate to come down the road. if you got them scattered all over the field, you just have a longer cattle drive, and there's a good chance that the baby calves will go back. You don't want that. Of course, we don't have any real babies in here, but young calves. Usually after they're, a month old, 3 weeks old, they're not going to go back. They're bonded. They know what the deal is. They move with the cows. And there's a fat cow. Whew. Some of these cows and heifers, a few of them's got hair spots missing, and that is what they call lice. Lice will chew on them a little bit late winter. A lot of people get them up and pour Ivamac on them, and that knocks the lice off and all that. One little problem with that is you've taken the most valuable asset on your farm, which is the manure pile, and you've turned it into a toxic liability. Nothing's going to eat it. So now you've taken something that's going to grow you more grass. It's going to sit there on your farm for gosh knows how long, 6, 7, 8 months. And the lice, it's taken care of by the sunlight, folks. You get that first 2 weeks of April when it gets up in the 70s, them lice are gone. They can't take the sun. So I'm not going to go out here and pour something on my cattle to rid them. It's something that's happened for centuries, and when the sun comes out, there goes the lice. They're gone. They can't take a lot of heat. So I'm not going to kill my soil biology. I'm not going to make my most valuable asset, which is the manure pat, toxic by pouring crap all over the back of these cows that ends up in the bloodstream, eventually ends up in the urine and the manure. Just not going to do that. Good way to go broke. Gotta look at what happens out here in nature. There's nobody pouring Ivamac down the back of a deer, and I'm sure some of the deer have spots of lice on them. There's nobody putting Ivamac on them. Now there are the rule of thumb. Some people say you should call the animals. Any animal that gets a bunch of lice, patches on or whatever, call that one. In other words, her genetics, she's inferior, because like right there with a calf that doesn't have any on it. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can. You could call the ones that have a lice spot, I guess, if you wanted to do that, and do a trial, and in maybe 3 to 5 years, you wouldn't have any of the lice affected, because they've got extreme resistance. It might be a trial, but it's going to be an expensive trial if you end up calling half of your cows that are pretty darn good cows. They just got a lice patch on them. I mean, it's going to be gone in 2 weeks of sunlight. So you got to look at the economics too. It doesn't make economical sense to go broke selling half your cows that are decent cows. They breed back, they got a good calf, but they got a lice patch on them. So I just don't think that's a viable option. But for some of the purists out there, that might be something you want to look at. So they're with the lion's share of them. Oh, here we go. We got some more coming behind us. These will be the slow ones. We do have a heifer in here that's got a limp. It's probably fescue foot. So that's a heifer that we will treat. We'll get that fescue foot taken care of, and she's going to be sold. So she doesn't have the genetic adaptability. And I don't know what it is about fescue foot, but it always affects, not always, but 85-90%, it always affects the hind foot, or the hind leg. It's not the front feet. It's always the back foot. And this heifer that we have limping, it's not a bad limp. And the longer you let fescue foot go without doctoring it, the harder it is to cure. This heifer that's limping, she may get over it. I mean, I've had them get over it in 4 or 5 days sometimes. Her foot's not even swelled, but she is favoring it. And so we're probably going to go ahead and treat her, and get a number on her, write her number down, and she will be called from the herd. Yeah, here comes all the babies. I'm going to shut this thing down so I can hush up. I don't want to have the babies going backwards. I may just keep it running and be quiet right here. I don't want them to turn around and running back. That would not be good. I'll just kind of hush up a little bit. There's one of those Jersey heifers. Oh yeah, they're fine. haven't seen that heifer that's got that limp. Heck, she may not be limping anymore. There's a pretty little calf. I think that's the youngest one. He's about a month old. Oh, here she comes. I see her now. There she is, right there. Got a limp on that left side. Get out of here, Casey. Casey always got to give me a hard time. He's got a great sense of humor. He'll come by and say something, and it's completely off base. It gets my heart going. He's like, Greg, there's a cow out. And I'm like, what? Just kidding. I'm like, okay, you woke me up. And there's Rowan, he's bringing up the rear. So we'll have the mule at the end of the cattle drive, that Kawasaki mule. They can start pulling these wires back up, and I'll take the other guy, and we'll be taking the other side up. So with that, that's the end of a Judy cattle drive down Devil's Washboard Road. So folks, everyone have a good one, and it's going to be a beautiful day here in central Missouri toward the end of February, and we're happy to be part of it.